As you guys know, I get a lot of products sent to me to test, tear down, evaluate, and show off how things work. And not everything is a bed of roses. Some things just don't work properly, or they work and then they fail. And this is one such item. It's an Alfawise pan tilt zoom outdoor camera, and it's a little bit in distress. Let's check it out. One of my cameras is acting up. This is the one I mounted up in the tree. As you can see, the picture is looking pretty bad. Looks like it's got water in it. So we're going to take this one down and bring it in and take it apart and see where it got wet. This is supposedly a waterproof camera, and it's been sitting outside for the past, I don't know, I guess I put it up around December. It's been up there for about 7 months. And after, well, it's been wet for a while. We had some torrential rains there back in May, and it got wet. Either that or someone turned the hose on it and flooded it, which is totally possible that somebody could have grabbed the hose and sprayed the thing. But anyway, it looks like water's gotten into it, so let's find out where the water got in. And while I'm up there, I'm going to put a different camera up there, also on a long-term test. So let's go recover this one and see what went wrong. So this is the camera that's been outside. As I say, I thought I had everything sealed up. Well, it's sealed up as well as it's going to be sealed up outside. Spiders on my bench. Let's get rid of that one. But how water got into this, I don't know. I mean, it was on a tree, but you can see, if you look here, you can see the lights, the LEDs have got water. So this, and you can see the water in the lens here, look, it's just full. So how this thing got wet is anyone's guess. I guess it wasn't sealed up as well as the company would like us to believe it was sealed up. But now we know. Whether this thing can be saved or not, I guess I'll find that out. First thing I'm going to do is retrieve the SD card out of it. We'll take that out for starters, and then we're going to disassemble this camera and see if we can dry it out and make it work better. So first, SD card in the bottom. A different screwdriver for that. Get this one. It's a number 1. Well, the SD card is dry. No, but there's certainly evidence that there's been water in around here. You can see it. I guess there's screws in the back here. Looks like some bugs have been getting into here, building a nest. I don't know where the screws are. Well, I just killed whatever was trying to make a nest there. There should be more over here. Like all 4 holes are filled with mud. That's critters. That's insects. Any place there's any holes in anything, bugs will get in there to make it into a home. I'm going to blow this out with air. What? There's no screw in this one? What the heck? There's a screw that's missing on this side. That side's got a screw. And those ones both have screws, but one screw is missing. What else are we going to find wrong with this thing? No gaskets in it? Never know. I'll put this thing, if I can get this thing clean, I'll put this thing back into service again, but I won't be putting it back up in the tree. I'll put it somewhere where it's under cover, because you know that it's just going to do it again, right? Which one had no screw in this thing? That one's not no screw, that one's got a screw in it. It's actually quite wet. There's a fair bit of water coming out of this thing. I don't know how exactly the back comes off this, whether I have to take, I think I probably have to take it down from the main mount here. But you can see there's a fair bit of water that's gotten into this thing. I'm surprised that it actually still has a picture. There's a gasket here, and this part's dry. There's another couple screws here that hold this piece together. Maybe if I get this cover off, I'll be able to take the camera apart to get to the lens. But I don't know where the water got in. It didn't get into this. This was all dry. It got into the camera itself. So maybe because that one screw was missing, or there's no gasket in there. It's possible, I guess, that this camera, I mean, this was one that I was sent to review, so I guess it's possible that it could have been a return, and you know, here it's all wet in here, you see, but I mean, this part's not shielded. This is probably where the water got in, right into the side here. I'm thinking that's, I'm sure, where the water got into it. It was right there. Okay, it's held in place by another, at least one more screw. Maybe not. Maybe it will just... Is there a screw that holds that in, or does it just snap in? But definitely this is wet here. You can see all the wires here are wet. So this unit is definitely not designed to be put right out where it's directly exposed to the weather, because it's going to get wet. There we go. That comes out like that, and that comes off like that, and now probably this thing can split. Yeah, this can split now. And there's one screw that's not out yet. That's the one that the bugs had all gotten around, and yeah, there's no seal on here. Well, I guess there is a seal. There is a rubber seal. Sorry. There is a rubber seal there, but it's certainly not doing its job. Okay, there's the back off of the camera. As you can see, there's a lot of water in here. Holy smoke. How this thing actually still worked is beyond me. And it has a silica, they got silica gel in here. That's not a bad idea. I'm gonna get a pack from work. In all of our alarm packages, they all come with a big silica gel. I'm gonna pack this thing with a silica gel in there to keep moisture out. But yeah, it's pretty wet. I gotta take this this lens apart. It's got a little power zoom lens on here. That's where the moisture is up at the front here. Oh, look at all the water that's coming out of this thing. I mean, this thing is just, Look at the lens, it's just drenched. It's incredible that this thing actually even still works, and the SD card actually still recorded. That's amazing with the amount of water that was in this thing, that this thing actually still even worked, like worked at all. Check this out. See if this will lift the camera out. I'm kind of curious as to how all this water got into this camera, because it's not like this was like it was under, it was in a tree, but it was up against the trunk of the tree. You would think that there would be some protection where it was sitting from moisture. There's the Wi-Fi radio there, I think. Okay, there's the lens and the camera. If I can get that out. I'll undo this connector for the SD card. Get that out of the way. I'm pretty sure this is where the water got in, right here, where all the wires go through the side here. That's where the water all got in, right there. And look at the water down in the base of this thing. Just soaked. This part is probably okay, this part, but that is all wet. We'll just try to get a rag and dry that out. I don't know if water got actually into the lens itself. It looks like the lens internal optics are also wet. Looking at this, so this lens may have to actually come right apart. So 27 or 2.7 to 13.5 millimeter f1.3. It's for a 1 over 2.7 inch. It's infrared. It says tele and wide. Tele is this way, I guess, and wide that way. I could power this camera up and I'll see the picture on my phone. You could do that. But we got to get this all dried out anyway. This is... Well, this part's all dry. The top part's dry. So the water got in. It got in through the side here and got in through this bearing. You can call it a bearing. Got in through the mount and in through the wires and just wicked its way in and eventually filled the thing up. So that is a bad design. Definitely you don't want to put one of these cameras, if you get one of these cheap cameras. I mean, I didn't pay anything for this thing. It was sent to me to evaluate, and evaluate I did. But yeah, this one here, no, don't put this out in the rain. Okay, I use my air compressor to blow out the excess moisture. And we'll just put this thing kind of back together. I think this is the bottom here. Put this thing together so that it goes the right way up, because the SD card needs to be on the bottom. Get the gasket back in here as it belongs. That's right, these screws didn't come out, and there was one that was missing. And this one over on this side is missing. Okay, that's got that part back together. As I say, I have no idea if this thing's even going to do anything when I put it back together, but we'll try. We'll see whether it does anything. Put that back in there like that. Pull all these wires back through where they're supposed to go. And there should be another cover that goes onto this. I think that went on that side, like that. Yeah, I guess it goes on like that. That goes on, and then there's 3 screws that go through this to hold this piece together. Being wet like this, I would imagine that at some point this thing's going to just pack it in, but we'll put it in service just to see what it does, just for fun. As you can see, the lenses here for the lights are still all cloudy from all the water that was in this thing. But it's back together, and now I guess I'll give it some power and see whether the thing actually does anything. It's got to dig up an adapter to power this thing up. Fortunately, these things power up just a standard 12-volt adapter, so I've got a ton of those around here, like one right here. Gotta find a power cord to plug it in. And this should power up and see what it does. It'll go through its motions when it boots up. It's going to rotate and tilt, and there it goes. So that part's working. So we'll just let this thing run here and boot up and see whether I get a picture off it. It'll take it a couple minutes to finish its self-test. Well, the camera turns on and it produces pictures, but it's all out of focus, and that's because water is actually in the internal lens elements. So maybe it will dry, probably won't. So that's what happens if your camera gets wet. It isn't going to work very well. So for this one's just going to go in the pile of crap, and we'll fire it up again at some point and see whether it actually dries up or not. I don't think it's not gonna dry up. The lens itself, water's gotten in between the elements. The only way to fix that would be to take it all apart and try to dry it out, and that, I'm afraid, would probably be a big job that would not be worth doing on this. So if you got one of these cameras that I reviewed earlier, these Alfawise pan tilt zoom ones, don't put them where they can get wet, because what's happened on this is water has run down. It's dripped down here, even though this is sealed. This whole thing was sealed. No water got into this at all, right? This was completely dry, the dome part. But what happened is water got in along here. It ran down and got onto the wires and fouled the wires in and filled this up full of water. And then the unit was shot. So that's lesson learned. They might say that they're waterproof, but don't believe it, because there are many different levels of waterproofness, and this one here is one that needs to go under an overhang, not where it can be exposed to water, whether it's rain or someone directing a hose at it or whatever. It can't handle it. I was undercover too. I was in a tree, and it was, it had a fair bit of cover over top of it, but it still managed to get wet to the point where the unit itself filled up with water. Okay, that's a teardown of that. That camera is pretty much shot. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.